So the worksheets are supposed to help you, like, ask certain questions, bring up certain things that maybe your mind would never have gone to, in the normal circumstances. So what it does is it helps you think about things your mind never went to, and kind of give you an idea of what you should pay attention to. And so even if you don't have the answers, at least the questions are available. So, and then you, at that point, you can now ask. So that's what makes mentorship different, because sometimes people just want to figure it out themselves, but it never works. There's an article I read on LinkedIn, my friend shared on LinkedIn, and it was really amazing. We know there's a guy who won a Grammy, Burna Boy, won a Grammy this year. I'm sure all of us know. And the article talked about him. Last year he was nominated and he didn't win. It was Angelique Kidjo that won. Guess what? Instead of the guy to just sit down and be sulking, he approached Angelique Kidjo and they started a mentorship relationship, kind of. And he must have asked questions. What did you do? And all that. And this year, 1 year down the line, he wins the Grammy. What are the odds? So when I read the article, I was like, really? That's something. So anything you want to be or anything you want to achieve, someone has achieved, gone ahead of you. So there's no point trying to reinvent the wheel, basically. So that's the whole idea of mentorship. So all this quick talk, it's not really as effective, really. So there are some talks, but those talks are to generate questions, generate thoughts, generate you to have conversations with yourself so that you can be fully self-aware. So let's just get into the topic for the day so that we do not take too much time. We're waiting. We said, let's give it 10 minutes. So we've given it 10 minutes, and that's a lot.
Can I ask a question while we're waiting for others to join in?
Okay, we're no longer waiting, but you can ask, because I wanted to just jump right in so we can just clear out what we have to discuss.
Okay.
And then we can take questions.
Okay, please go ahead then.
And so if there's any need to reconnect, we might have to do that, even though I'm very reluctant to do that, but it's fine. Okay, so today's discussion, today's topic is how to catch vision, how to build values, and then how to set goals. So with time, you would understand what the relationship is with those three things. So I know, personally speaking, I have had an experience, and then I have worked with a lot of young ladies, and working with people, discussing with people, just hanging out with them. One of the things that I have noticed that is a big challenge for us, let me not say us, but for people in general, is that many times people lack vision. They don't know what they want. This evening, my daughter had another episode. Yesterday I talked about my son. Today I'm talking about my daughter. She had an episode as well. Okay, they've told her this is going to happen. I don't know what to do and all that. And suddenly it just occurred to me that, that not knowing what to do, not having a clarity of what to do or how she's going to move ahead. I just looked at her and I just said, this is usually what most of us are going through. We are confused. When we talked about discovering yourself, self-identity, that's a type of confusion. One of the confusions that we go through, frustrations, not knowing who you are. And then maybe to an extent, when you understand yourself, you see some of the things, you understand your potential. Another kind of thing that happens is that ability to be able to know where all these things is going to, your destination, your future, to be able to see, something beyond the current is usually a challenge for a lot of people. And the idea is that there's nothing you want to be that you can be until you see it. You need to see it first. It needs to be clear. You need to see it within before you see it without. A lot of things that have happened to you or that will happen to you should have happened before or have happened before. So if I want to be something, I have seen it, I have created it. There has to be a picture clear, that is like a blueprint that creates the reality. So without that first seeing, without vision, you will not be able to get into that destination. Because if you don't know where you're going, every road leads to that. So even if you get to that vision, because you didn't see it before, you will not even know that that's where you have arrived. So there's a question I want to ask. Just think about the question as we talk. Okay, if you know right now that there is more for you to become, more for you to do, and more for you to have, what would you do? If you know that there's more beyond who you currently are, what would you do? What are the actions you would take? Have that question in mind as we go on ahead. So we're talking about vision. So everything we were created, everything was created first before it was manifested. Everything. So even creation, God thought about it before it manifested. The same way we are created in God's image. So we have that same ability. Whatever you want to be, whatever you want to become, you create it inside before you create it outside. So if you are not, if you have, maybe you've discovered yourself, you've developed your character, you've done all those things, you've sorted out the issues with your personality and all that to an extent, and there's no clear guide as to where all this thing is going to, you'll be distracted along the way. You will give up. That's why the Bible says, where there's no vision, the people cast off restraint. Where there's no vision, they said the people perish. So that the people perish. Another translation defined it to mean you cast off restraint. That means if you're controlling yourself or you're disciplining yourself, you're within some boundaries. When there's no clear vision, you go out of boundary. You forget. There's no restraint. Nothing is holding you back. There's nothing guiding you. There's no guide, and so you just threw caution to the wind. And then your life becomes just anyhow. But when you have a clear vision, when you have that ability to imagine the future and have it clear, a future that is better or more improved than your current version, that snapshot, that picture now guides you. It now works as a guide. For instance, I have a picture already that I'm going to be having this session this night. Yes, earlier on in the evening, I slept off because I had a very rough week. I was tired. But because I have a clear vision of how this evening is going to play out, is that vision of that clear picture that stirred me up when it was time to start to prepare so that I can be here by this time. So vision kind of gives you discipline. It kind of puts you into, track. You will not lose your way without, if you have vision. But without vision, you can easily lose your way. And so a lot of people are living their lives, no vision. They don't have any clear picture of what they want. We are all saying we want something better. We are all saying we want a better Nigeria. But if you say, somebody, what is that picture of a better Nigeria? Do you have it clearly defined? There's usually a problem there. Because vision takes, so when you say how to catch a vision, that's what we're learning today. So to catch a vision, it takes some effort. It takes something. It will require you to do something. It will require you to put yourself somewhere in a certain situation or, in a certain context. So in a nutshell, to catch vision, you need to expose yourself to the right things. You need to expose yourself to the right things. And that's why, see, when God created us, he created creation. There's a way he created creation. There's open space. There's a lot in creation to inspire you, to make you start thinking, to make you start innovating, to make you start saying, what can be better? And by that thinking, by that thought that you're creating in your mind, you thoughts and imagination come together to create innovation. And so at the end of the day, you're thinking through some problems, and then you're visualizing the solutions, you're thinking through the solutions, and at the end of the day, you're creating pictures that are clear, innovative or alternatives to what currently exists. So when you talk about invention, when you talk about all these things, it's people who are able to expose themselves and engage their mind. So you see, to catch a vision involves you exposing your senses to, sources, something that will inspire. That's usually the word they use. So things inspire. You see, musicians, when they want to write a song or they want to do something, they go away somewhere to get what they call inspiration. So it's exposure, it's what you're seeing, it's what you're exposed to that sparks up or that inspires your own imagination to begin to create your own pictures. And that's what one thing about us, we're unique. And so our imaginations, our solutions, our innovations, everything that comes out of you is unique. And that's how beautiful vision is. So vision, when you have vision, there are things that help you work with it to achieve it. So vision is one thing. Yes, it's that clear picture. But then that destination requires steps. That's where goal setting comes in. So to get to that place, to get from here to there, these are the steps I'm going to take. So you have a vision to be a doctor. If somebody just visualizes, I want to be a doctor, and that's all, the person goes to sit down. You can never be a doctor, no matter how clear that your vision is. If you never take the steps required, you will never get there. So that's where goal setting comes in. So goals are the steps. You break down this journey to this destination and you break it down into small, small steps. So the outcome of each of those steps are the goals, smaller goals you set to get to that vision. You understand? So that's where goals are the things that you want to achieve. Goal setting is how you decide on, determine, and plan the steps you need to take to achieve your goals. Then how does value come in to all this whole thing? When you say, how can I move from here to here? There are different ways to move. So you can also move, you can move to that destination. You can reach a destination, or you can achieve a goal ethically or unethically. So some people, you have a goal to be rich. There are people who have goals to be rich. We too we have the same goal to be rich. You want to be rich. But how the steps that person takes, the steps that someone who has values takes is different from the steps that someone who doesn't have value takes. And you know what happens is that if you take the steps, unethical steps to that goal, what happens is that at the end of the journey, because of the wrong steps you've taken, that vision will crash along the way. So building values into your vision catching, goal setting, goal achievement, and everything in life is very key. And that's where all of them come to play. So vision, values, and so I'm sure with what I've explained, vision is the destination, goals are the steps, values are the right steps, what determines the steps you should take. So values are key. And then what I want to say with goals just before the time is up, because this session is not something that we can just run through. Vision catching or vision casting, because sometimes when you come to an organization where there's a vision already existing, if the people who are in that organization or the people who are working do not see clearly what the visionary sees, they will not be able to run with it. And that's why there's a scripture that says, write the vision, make it clean. Write the vision, make it plain, that he will run that read it. So when you make your vision plain, when you catch a vision and you make it plain, that's you write it down, because that's the best way to make it plain. A lot of times you're seeing different things, a lot of vision comes, you're catching them, but to really say you caught them is when you're able to take that vision and make it plain. When you're able to crystallize that thought or that idea into something that is physical. So the fastest way to do that is to write it, to maybe record an audio, but documenting what you can, because vision is flying everywhere. That's one thing you have to know. Vision is not something that God has to wake you up in the night every day and say, ideas, vision, inspiration is in the atmosphere. So things are always flying. It now depends on how much, you stand and you focus. So in the Habakkuk scripture, the guy says, I will stand upon my watch. I will see what he will say to me. Just, I like that scripture so well because he said, I will see what he will say. So when he's saying something, when there are instructions given, your mind is creating pictures. And that's why I like books. And that's why reading books is more intellectually stimulating than watching things. When you read, instructions are being given, but your mind is working, creating pictures. And so that creative picture is exercise for you, imagination exercise. So you're able to create those pictures as you're reading. So your mind is working, is doing the work it was created to do. But when you're just watching images, the images are already created for you. So there's no much processing going on. And so your mind is kind of like docile. It's not really working. So that's why reading is good. That's another idea. So for you to catch vision, you need to bring in information. So there has to be some input. When somebody gives you vision, maybe already visualizes something and doles it out to you, it's not new. So it's not like it's your vision. But if you have a set of information and using that information, you're able to create a picture for yourself. That's catching the vision. So you create that picture, you don't keep it as an idea, you document it, you talk about it, you create something, you crystallize it, whatever way you decide to. So that's how it works. And then the values, just keep you in check, keep you in check. So the last thing I'll say before I turn the floor open for questions is that goals, remember goals. Goals are the steps you will take. If you have vision, you never break it down to code, you'll never achieve that. And that's what frustrates a lot of people. There's something you want to do. You have seen it, you have written it down, you're excited about it. But after many days or many years, you find out that you have not yet achieved that. Why? You didn't break it down to goals. And if you didn't break it down to goals, you somehow, you will not be able to take the steps required. So goals are supposed to be another way to explain them. There's this acronym, very popular acronym for goals, which is SMART. So goals are to be specific. You ask yourself, what is the goal? What is that step? I want to cut down maybe 6 hours of it for doing something into 3 hours. Then it has to be specific. You have to drill it down so detailed. Then it has to be measurable. How will I measure my progress? So if I want to cut it from this to this, how will I know that I was successful? It has to be measurable. Then A means it has to be attainable. You ask yourself, do I have the skills? Do I have the resources? Am I able to do this? Like you want to read medicine. So specifically, I want to go and read sciences in secondary school. How will you measure my progress? I passed SSC science course. Then do I have skills and resources for it? Am I ready to enter into university to read medicine? So, do I have the SSC? Do I have the age, the qualifications and everything? Then it has to be relevant. Why is that goal important? Especially in the context of the vision. So I want to be a doctor and you want to enter school. The goal of getting into university is important to that vision of being a doctor, because without it, you will not take that step. You will not get to that destination. So why is that goal important? You tell yourself, you give yourself the reason. This is what I want to do. This is where my passion is, to help people. So it helps. And that's part of what motivates you in the journey. And then when will I achieve that goal? It has to be time bound, which is the T. So SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So everything that you're planning, as big as they are, break it down. And as soon as you break it down, ensure that those broken down steps are SMART. They're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Okay, so we have about 12 minutes more. So I'm going to throw the floor open and we're going to start with Lumina. You had a question, so let's see if you still have if the question, is still relevant after my talk. So let's hear your question, Lumina.
Okay, ma. Thank you, ma. Good evening, everybody. My question has to do with the first illustration you gave about Bonner Boy.
Okay.
When you talked about him going to meet the person that won last year to ask how he went about it. So if the person is a younger person, a much younger person, how do we go about it? How do I go about it?
Same thing. You just have to humble yourself, because that's one of the things that the key to learning. The first number one key to learning is meekness. So no matter the age difference, if you are able to acknowledge that in the area of need, this person is more advanced than you, that should settle it. So the meekness is that I'm not bothered about the fact that there's an age gap. I'm acknowledging that I have a gap. I'm acknowledging that the other person is more advanced than I am. And once you make that acknowledgement and approach the person with a specific request for the person's time in order to do this transfer, it unless the person says no, or unless the person is uncomfortable, I don't think this thing called mentorship has to do with age. I have a lot of people who are younger than me, who to an extent I approach them for many things. They are mentors in certain areas where they are more advanced than I am. And it's not a problem. In fact, there's something that is trending now called reverse mentoring, where people are acknowledging that there are lots of young people who know things. For instance, when you see all this new technology, younger people are more versed in that area. So when you come to the workplace, you find out that older people are approaching younger people to have that mentoring relationship, reverse mentoring relationship. So the idea is that I want to learn. So it might not be that you're even learning something. I just even want to just know the mindset of this age of people. So you get into a reverse mentoring relationship or whatever. So whatever you need to call it, the idea is the objective. What's the objective for this relationship? You need to ask yourself and be sure. If you're uncomfortable with maybe learning from someone younger and you know it's going to be a problem, then the option is that you can look for someone who is older, who has the same things that you want. It's just for you to check. But I don't think age has really nothing much to do with it. It's just that at the end of the day, sometimes it's just uncomfortable for some people, but if you find it okay, then get on with it. So I'm seeing some questions. Please just unmute and ask. Please, what do you do if you have a vision, set a goal and all, then you have something just come up? What do you do? For instance, you want to, please, can you just unmute and ask your question? Because as I'm scrolling down, it's just over, I don't know how to explain it. Amoge, please just unmute and ask your question. Chinwe as well. We don't have time, unmute. I'm trying to.
Hello, ma.
Hi.
Hello, ma.
Hi, Chinwe.
Okay, so I was trying to say that, okay, from what you discussed with us about setting goals and taking steps to achieve those goals, I was simply saying that, in taking those steps, in reality, I feel like when you're taking those steps, there are life issues that will just show up in your face and make you feel like you're wasting your time, So I'm going to use myself as an example. There's a particular thing that I'm trying to achieve this year, 2021. And from January up until now, I've been working on it seriously. But right now, I feel like all the efforts I've put in, it looks like it's not even moving, and I feel confused. But now my question is, being confused about it, is it not okay? I mean, it's okay to be confused, but how do I redirect from this my state of confusion? Because I feel like I have put in a lot of money, I've put in a lot of time, I've studied a lot, and oh my God, when is this going to happen? Because it's something that I want to happen before July, and this is March. I feel like I haven't even scratched anywhere.
Okay, so that's why your goals have to be smart, remember. So this time bound, that's why that time bound thing is very key. So if you have something and you don't even have a timeline to it, there's something called hope defers. Hope defers makes the heart sick. So when you have something that there's no timeline, That's part of the frustration. So for every goal, you should be able to analyze it properly and know that if I'm giving it a timeline, this thing is achievable within this timeline. So you do your research, you ask your questions, you do everything. It's not, I must say, it doesn't always work very neatly. And so what you do is that if you set that goal, you get to the timeline and you haven't achieved it, review what went wrong. You need to be able to review, where did I get it wrong? Are there some actions or activities I was supposed to be doing daily that I stopped to do? There's a post that I was thinking about doing today. There's something in our business that we call RED. So it's called Right Execution Daily. And RED, the principle of RED is that once you have if you have daily tasks that leads to a certain outcome, and you ensure that those daily tasks are covered, by the end of the timeline, maybe a week, a month or something, that daily action would have resulted in an outcome. If it does not result in this outcome, then something is wrong with your daily execution. So you go back. And that's how goals are. Goals are broken down into tasks. And then those tasks are broken down into activities. So those activities that you're putting in, you must review it after every timeline, after every time, when the timeline is up. So you'll be sure that this activity I'm doing is leading up to a goal. Second thing you say when you get confused about something and it seems like it's going too far, whatever it is, even if it's plenty things you have, if there's something you have decided that this is a goal I want to accomplish, tell yourself, I must put in the work this certain time daily towards this thing. So it might not look initially, when you're doing all the work, it might not look like it's leading to that goal. But when you're able to see, when you're able to know, check it very well before you put those steps in, you're able to know whether this thing is moving towards the right direction, whether the improvements and the improvements are actually happening. So you have to recheck, review all that. Don't give up on a goal unless you have reviewed it properly and you've seen that this thing particularly is not productive. So you either replace it with something else or you throw it out of the way. But it's not to have to be confused, to be tired of maybe some activities around goals is normal. So you don't redirect unless you know that you're on the wrong direction, on the wrong path. So don't redirect. There might be work you have done for a long time that if you don't build on that, you will lose everything that you've done. Amoge, can you unmute and ask your question? I don't want to miss it.
Good evening, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chinwe, did I answer
Because
yours? Chinwe, did I answer yours?
Yes, ma. Yes, ma, you did. Thank you very much.
Okay. So Amoge, okay, can you?
Yeah, I don't. Good evening, ma. I don't know if you can hear me because my background is a bit noisy.
No, I can hear
Okay, basically it's the same thing Chinwe asked. Like you have a goal or you have a plan, you've done a vision, you've set the goal, you've everything, and then life issues just comes up. How do you, how do you continue? Because I think, like she said, you become confused at that point. I think you've answered it a bit, but the question is, my second question now is, can you extend the time? Like you have a time limit, that the time bond that like you say by the end of the year. But now something just came up, maybe like example, you become pregnant and it's going to delay can you extend it?
You can extend it, but one thing I will say about extending it is that sometimes that stretch is important for you. Sometimes we don't really factor in all the resources we have. We tell ourselves, when you say something is attainable, is giving a stock of the resources and skills we have. Sometimes we downplay the amount of resources we have. And so we don't stretch ourselves. So you set easy goals. And when you set easy goals, one of the things it does is that it never stretches you, you never grow. So when you say, can I extend it? I'll say yes and no. You can extend it after you've done a thorough review that truly, indeed, there's no time. But what you can do is when you have reviewed it, it's possible for you to put in twice the effort and still achieve at that timeline. You know what it does to you is that it helps you grow. It helps you improve. It helps you stretch. When you stretch something, Even in pregnancy, think about pregnancy. Without the baby growing inside out, you will not stretch, you can't, you're stretching the stomach, is extending because something is growing inside. So if there's a stretch, it will give you, if you add more into that time or stretch on in the effort that you put in. So that stretching in the effort grows you. You understand? So I wouldn't just say, yes, you see, when I tell you, yeah, you can stretch it, you can be stretching it for all your life. You can keep extending it. When you finish extending it, another one comes again, you extend it again. So it's possible that I won't subscribe to that, but you would have to make a very, very thorough, analysis and evaluation of your resources. So if it's not attainable and you're sure that this thing is not attainable, then, but you must have put yourself under some, sometimes it will require stretch, So that's even one of the reasons why maybe having an accountability, somebody to hold you accountable, helps. So you can say, no, I don't have the time. No. When I was pregnant, when I did my CIPM exam, the first level, because initially I'm a HR professional now. I didn't have a HR background. So when I left my job and I was at home and I was having kids, I just said, I need to do this certification. So initially, the first level I did, I think I just took in then for my last born. So it was not an easy time. It was terrible. It was close to, no, I didn't just take in, but I was within my first trimester. And if you know pregnancy, first trimester is usually kind of difficult. 6 months later, I was just about to give birth. So that was another setup. I was heavy, but I stretched myself and took that exam. If I didn't take it then, 1 year down the line, after I gave birth to my son, the year I gave birth to my son, did 6 months, I did the third, I was breastfeeding when I did the third step. By the end of that year, I got a job, teacher. And so by the following year, I was, when he was weaned, I was back into work. So what if I said, no, I can't do it because I'm pregnant? I would have used the time after, my son was be doing exam. And I'm, such things just make you just despise the person because of this boy that I'm not doing it. No, I was carrying all that, and I had 2 others. So it wasn't like it was just that baby. I had 2 other girls and then him. So I stretched myself. That's what I did. I had to take it and say, look, you stretch yourself, you do this. By the time the timeline was on, I was at work. So by 2015, he was 1 year, not up to 1 year, but my son was big enough. I had weaned him, and then I got back to work. So very key to stretch yourself. I hope I answered you because we have less than a minute to go.
Yes, ma, you did.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So no, I'm not seeing any more questions. So I'll see you guys. I think we have it all covered. If you feel we need to continue, you can say, oh, we need to continue. I have questions. But you can also ask the question on the group platform, and I would maybe take out some extra 30 to 40 minutes and respond to you. So take care. Enjoy your weekend. If you have questions, please ask, and you can always call me. I'm available. Ask some questions, clarify some things for that.